I'm Robert Ferrula. I'm a technical marketing engineer for Arista, and I'm going to talk about digital experience and monitoring, and I'm going to ask Central, who's remote, to also help out with this. DEM, which sometimes we referred to as like a digital twin in the old days, even synthetic client testing, it's all the same. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to use the I'm going to sit down here and see, no pointer. Yeah, so we're going to use the multifunction radio. And for us, that multifunction radio truly is really multifunction. It has 7 functions, one of which is where you instantiate a virtual client, and we're going to do end-to-end testing, layers 1 through 7, right, from the virtual client out to the cloud. And of course, it's going to test the wired, Wi-Fi side and the wireless side. It's super important that we test the wireless side. And we say that because if you're just testing on the wireless side, right, you're not getting from the client's perspective. You're not testing your radios. You're not testing all your APs. You're not testing even all the VLANs necessarily, right? And that we know that if you don't test your VLANs, that's where a lot of the problems, can be hiding. Is a VLAN's not trunked on a port, for instance. So it's super important that you test from a client's perspective. And it's kind of you can think of it as a golden client because we can trust this client. We know that it should be able to connect, right? It doesn't have any driver problems or anything like that. And so it's a good test to run as part of the proactive network assurance. So if you look at our dashboards, and I know we've covered this in past wireless field days, we have plenty of dashboards, and we'll take a peek at them, where you have your connectivity dashboard, your client journey dashboard, then you move up the stack, the performance dashboard, and then finally to layer 7, the application quality of experience dashboard. That's great. That's all that's passive. It's observational, right? This is the proactive part of it. So we have the 2 approaches, right? The passive observational and then the proactive part of it. What's new is the fact that we can do EPLS. That was super important for enterprise customers, right? So we have now the ability to either use the built-in certificate on our access points for that virtual client, or download a custom cert from Agni, our own NAC, or third-party NACs. And so again, it's going to be client-to-cloud, multifunction radio. Does a lot of things. It does WIPs, it does RRM scanning, it does locationing, it does packet capture, it does spectrum analysis, etc. But one of the main ones here is DEM. Let me go here. So now I'm going to turn it over to Senthil, who's going to take us through this new DEM dashboard, and then after that, I'm going to come back and do a little demo.
Cool. So I'm Senthil, part of the product management team here at Arista, primarily responsible for the monitoring, reporting, and troubleshooting aspects. Today, we project the network's view of the end user experience by capturing the key KPI categories across connectivity, performance, application experience, infrastructure, and we also capture the WIP's security postures. The widgets over here helps the end user troubleshoot issues live, and the frame below automatically baselines all the key KPIs over a period of time and bubbles up the anomalies with a red indicator. On a click, you'll get to see the clients impacted and troubleshoot further. And if you are interested interested to troubleshoot at a particular time frame, you could use the time range selector to understand how the various key KPI categories were performing. And what's unique about us is our capability to measure application latency on the wire and also on the wireless medium from the access point. And all this data is filtered up. You could filter all these key KPI categories across the various SSIDs. And if you have a large network, globally distributed, we have a simple way for the end user to look at how the various sites are performing across the globe. And what we have done differently here is provided filters for the various KPI categories. For example, if you're a traditional admin and if the devices were up that meets your SLA, you have an infrastructure filter. If you're a new age admin and all you care is for the performance of the clients, you have a performance filter which will project the performance of all the clients across the various sites. And if there are clients having poor experience, it would get projected here, and on a click, you can navigate to that specific client to understand what's going on. We have also facilitated a health dashboard where the end user can configure their own KPIs of interest and the threshold levels, and the deviations will be projected right here. Again, all this beautiful visualization projects the network's view of the client experience, and this is available at a regional level, at site level, and the similar fine-grained visibility is also available at a floor level. And this is unique to us. And today we are introducing something called digital experience dashboard, which will project the. We are the only vendor to provide such visibility at all levels in the hierarchy, at an org level, at a site level, and also at a floor level. What I've showed so far is the network's view of the client experience. And what we are introducing now is digital experience monitoring, which provides the client view of the network. If you have a retail store spread across the globe, and there are three SSIDs of prime importance to you, the Corp SSID, the guest, and the POS network, you could just configure three test profiles and have them running all the time. So before you enter the office at 8 a.m., you could just glance at this dashboard, and if everything looks good, you're good to go. We are using the fourth radio on our access points to conduct these tests. These are not overlay sensors. You don't have to run cables from additional cables to the switch and end up buying more switches. And it offers a true integrated experience. In this case, what we are seeing is the POS application has failures. On a click, you will get to see the test results. We know that the connectivity tests have passed. The network latencies were all good. Performance was also good, but we had issues with the application experience. On a click, you get validation on the same WAN latency, LAN latency. They're all fine. And when you click the application test, you notice that Google Drive works fine, Internet works fine, but what has failed is the POS internal application. And to be frank, like we have had this capability all the time for the last 10 years. Now we are coming up with better visualizations to project the network's view of the client experience and the client's view of the network experience. And indeed, we are the first vendor to have provided this capability. And I believe we are also the only vendor today to project this. We have also integrated this digital experience capability tightly in the client context and also in the access point context. I'll quickly hand over to Robert to demonstrate those capabilities. We have a lot more interesting capabilities in our portfolio, but we have limited time, so I'm going to hand it over to Robert.
Yeah. So Carlos calls into the help desk and about a problem. Now I could search for Carlos here and find him that way, find his client that way and go to him. That's fine. Or some folks like me, when I used to be on the customer side, I used to love to go into dashboards. This dashboard's way more sophisticated than the ones I used to work with. But for those of you that remember. Like HP OpenView, we have that kind of global geographical dashboard as well. That would be kind of like how I start the day and look for anything red, right? And so here you can go to the overview dashboard. And so Carlos called in about a connectivity issue or some type of a problem, not able to connect to the network. So this is where this is all that passive or observational part of the solution, network assurance solution. So you have the connectivity, right? Clients as they're going through the journey of getting connected, talking to network services. Then you get the performance. You have application moving up the stack, right? So here it's a connectivity issue. So I can hover over here and I can see we have one issue. This as being an overview dashboard, right? I can go down into the individual dashboards and then see that client journey dashboard. And I see we have one client that's having a problem. And it is Carlos, and I can then drill down on Carlos, and I get to this really cool, thank you, Central. Central, this is something that came after Central joined the company. This client. It's like everything about this particular client, their overview, their connectivity, the baselines, KPIs, then performance and application performance, even floor map, where you can say, okay, if the client's having a problem, show me where on the floor plan that problem is happening, right? So you're able to correlate location with a particular issue for a particular client, and that's pretty cool. So we can see that Carlos is having a problem, and then we can run a client connectivity test here. I can do that right from here. This is another cool feature that Central helped make reality. And we can go here and run that client connectivity test. Really bad name for a feature, horrible name, because client connectivity. We got to change it, right? Because client connectivity is like such an undersell. It's not just testing client connectivity, right? Again, it's going from the virtual client out to the cloud, and it's testing everything in between client to cloud, layers 1 through 7. But here we can run the test. And we could select the AP. Now you can schedule these tests, of course, too, but this is where we're going to do, a real-time or ad hoc test for a particular client. While that's running, it won't take too long. I'm going to look at a previous. I'll do a couple things. We'll look at a test that had run. It's actually Central already showed that where you saw the applications and everything. I'm going to look at the test profile to show you for this particular test that we're running here. We'll take a quick look. So it is EAP TLS. WPA3 Enterprise. And notice how we have this certificate tag here. That's just a way of labeling the different certs that we're uploading. You have the default, which comes built into the access point. We're not using that. We're using a custom cert that we had previously downloaded from Agni for this particular test. Just want to point that out. If you wanted to make this test more extensive, you can select all your applications. You can even test, captive portal, if you wanted to. Custom. So you can put whatever, what other applications that you want to test. And we're going out and doing page pulls for those, etc. VoIP, right? And you get a MOS back, and then also throughput. Let's take a look at the results here. So we can look down and we can see, it's a DHCP failure. It's failed. And so it's just a way of confirming that there's something wrong with the network. It's not just Carlos's client, but this is a way of using a golden client to verify that there's a problem. And we can look back here, and if we why though, let's go back to the dashboard. We'll go back here, leave here, and I'm going to go back to that client. And this is the key. We go back to that. We can see here that, the problem is, we can look up here and see, okay, that's the root of the problem. In this case, it was a missing VLAN. And so that the fact that there's no VLAN there, that's causing the problem.
That's a question on that, because in the information on the screen, it says it was an EPON handshake failure.
Yeah.
Which is before you do DHCP.
That's right. Yeah. I'm not sure why we're seeing that error. This is a perfect example of a live demo not going as well as it went the other 100 times.
Robert,
Go ahead, sorry.
I can share too, just in case if you need some archive.
Sorry?
I have the issue simulated. So just in case if you want me to share the screen, I could do. I know we are out of time, but
yes, if you go into the...
Yeah, I think the problem is you're showing 3 different things, right? You see the EPOL issue, the bar at the top says missing VLAN, then the client says
DHCP,
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
Well, it could have been all 3.
Okay, so
right?
Yeah.
See,
but
this
that's
is
the way you display.
this is proof that all the other times we ran in preparation that it was the right, So I'm not.
Robert, I have
demo gremlin.
I have a question. Back a little bit, you mentioned you were looking at Carlos's failure. Did you need to choose which AP does the synthetic test, or does it pick the closest one that wasn't the one he's?
If you had,
I'd like to be the one that Carlos's client associated to, not have the one he associated to be the tester.
Yeah,
How do you pick
the
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 nearest
AP
neighbor or something?
Yeah, so you have options usually, right? In our setup, there's only one option because we only had one. We had 2 APs, so you don't get to select from a list. But when we select, right?
Can I answer that, Sri here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Keith, this is Sriram here. So the way it works is when you run the client connectivity test from the client's context, in this case, Carlos. So the way that works, Keith, is when you run this test from Carlos's perspective, the AP that the client is connected to, which is AP1 in this case, that becomes the AP under test. So what that would mean is when you pick another AP, say AP2 or AP3, AP2 or AP3 acts as the multifunction radio to run the test against AP1 to which Carlos was connected to, right? So that's how it works. So yes, you are testing the AP to which this client was very specifically connected.
So you're not getting any RF details about how Carlos's clients saw the RF. Because you're using this.
Not with the client connectivity test. You're getting the virtual client, that its perspective of RSSI, and that's included in the
from
results.
his point of view, not from
not from Carlos's point of view. You can get that information, but not from this test. I mean, that's available, right? But for the test, you can see you have the access point under test. That would be the access point that Carlos was trying to connect to. And then you have your access point as a client, acting as a client, and you can get, the RSSI there. But that's between the virtual client and the AP under test.
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful when doing the synthetic testing, when troubleshooting an actual real client, because the real client might be, if it was pre-shared key, they typed in the wrong pre-shared key. So therefore they're failing the four-way handshake. You synthetically test it with the right pre-shared key, it's going to go, oh yeah, everything's okay. So you're not necessarily looking at like for like by using a synthetic client to test a real client's problem.
I think the issue is, and you mentioned it, is the naming, that when I'm looking at the client view and I'm doing a client connectivity test, that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing a synthetic test from another device.
That's right.
But I like it as a quick ad hoc test on does DHCP work for any client? Does DNS work for any client? Can I get out to the internet for any client? So you can validate some of that infrastructure before you have to start looking at the specific client that has the problem.
Yeah, it's like
the most important part is Robert. I think two things. One is Peter, to answer your question. Yes, if the PSK is wrong, of course, right? But we do have in the dashboard, if the PSK is wrong, we can clearly call it out. I mean, we do some analysis of the EPOL handshake failures and call out that this is a PSK failure. So right off the dashboard, you would be able to see it. Now, the second part is, I think, just want to iterate that some of these issues that you see, right, especially like, say the DCP server is not available, the AAA server is not reachable. For those kind of tests, it's really important to run it, from the client's perspective, right? Because if you run it on the wired side, it's usually on the management VLAN, and the management VLAN never has access to the resources or the network resources on the client side, whether it's the application or all the network services. And that's one of the reasons why we've been, investing a lot in building out this capability on the multifunction radio to act as a client.